Hello everyone, we're back in chapter 17, this will be part 3. And I'd like to make a point in all these journals, even this one especially, that you've got to see that Sananda, God, creation, all of it has to do with what's going on in our skies nowadays. These ships, or UFOs, some are government made of course. They've had the technology since the 40s, they've been working on it. And you'll even find that in here. But we can't see a separation with God, our Creator, out there in these beings, and what's going on right now with us, and our religions, as you put it. You gotta see that there is connection there, and don't lose your faith just because of what's happening. It has everything to do with this. We just lost the truth in it, and you'll have to see it again. To Syria in the thundering light. It happened that when he spoke to them in this manner, it thundered in the heavens, and a great light came down from the sky, not far from where they were seated, and light alighted on the ground. There was a most beautiful metallic glitter as it reflected in the light of the sun, for the sky was clear, and no clouds were present save the one above the light. And think about it, even Ezekiel chapter 1, look at it. He was plainly describing a ship. And, how do you think he gets from the star to star, or from heaven to here? Really think about it. It's just poof here? It's just mysticism? It's just an unknown. It's just a mystery that hasn't been solved yet. But it's here, if you can find it and look for yourself. Emmanuel ceased his speaking, arose and went to the metallic light and stepped therein. It came about that around us rose a fog all about, and it thundered again as the singing began. And the light lifted into the sky once more, and the cloud of fog dissolved. I wonder what that could be. We call them UFOs because they're unidentified flying objects. That's just the way we see it. But those are just your brothers and sisters and their own spacecraft or machinery, as you want to look at it, just like you drive a car. The disciples quietly returned to Jerusalem and described what was happening, or what had happened. Now it happened that Emmanuel was set forth on the Lamb through the great light, in Syria, and he lived in Damascus for about 2 years. He was not recognized as to his identity, and was most often called by the name of Isu. After about 2 years, he sent forth a messenger into Galilee to locate his brother Thomas, and his disciple, Thomas as well as myself, Judas Iscariot. In a little more than 2 months, Judas and Thomas made their way to Emmanuel. They bore bad news. It's funny, the two that people make fun of the most, doubting Thomas and the Judas, the alleged betrayer, were his two best disciples. And yet we took that and we didn't look into Thomas's book, but he has a book even. Thomas related, "Your disciples have falsified your teachings." I wonder which ones that would have been. "They say you are the Son of the God, and call you the Anointed One, aka Jesus Christ," which is a falsified name, "and have pronounced you that you are equal to the creation. The high priests and the elders persecute your followers, and stone them wherever they go, whenever they can, find and catch them. It is said of Thomas, your disciple, that he fled and left for the land of India with a caravan." Now we'll get into Saul, otherwise known as Paul. "A great enemy has ascended against you," one of the greatest enemies at this time, but he's atoning for it, "a man named Saul. He is foaming with rage against you, and utters great threats against you. He issues great threats against your disciples and those who believe in your teachings. He has letters written to the synagogues in all countries, so that those who would follow your new teaching would be bound and taken under arrest into Jerusalem. No difference is made as to whether it be man, woman, or child, for they shall all be put to death." Emmanuel spoke, "Do not be afraid. The time will soon come when Saul will be taught contrary to his evil thoughts, for he is already on his way here to Damascus. He is following the two of you, so he can arrest you and return you in chains to Jerusalem. But I shall step in front of him before he reaches Damascus. And since he believes me to be dead, he will assume my appearance to be that of a ghost." This is where you see the part in his book. Emmanuel then set out to see a friend who helped him with mysterious things, such as powders, salves, liquids, and other secret items. When he had gathered all his supplies, he left the city along the road to Galilee, from whence would come Saul. For 2 days Emmanuel waited at a place some days' journey from Damascus, in the cliffs. While he waited, he prepared a mixture of various items he had brought along with him. During the night of the second day, he saw a group approaching from the direction of Galilee. Among them was Saul, the persecutor of the disciples and Emmanuel's followers. When the group came close, Emmanuel stood forth on a large rock outcropping, struck a fire to the concocted mass, and cast it before the group approaching, directly in the path in front of Saul. At the time Emmanuel shouted loudly, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute my disciples?" Saul, however, was terrified and fell to the ground and cried out, "Who are you who speaks to me in this manner?" Emmanuel answered and said, "I'm Emmanuel, whom you persecute in your hatred, as you do my disciples. Get up and go into the city, and let one teach you according to how you are supposed to live." Saul was very much afraid and said, "But you are he who they crucified. So you are dead and speaking to me now as a ghost?" Emmanuel did not respond, turned and returned to Damascus. The men who were with Saul, who were Saul's companies, stood frozen with fear, for they too thought they had witnessed a ghost. But Saul got to his feet and opened his eyes. However, his eyes had no vision, for they were blinded by the light which Emmanuel had cast. I like to imagine he did like a fireworks in front of them. His companies led him by the hand into Damascus. Saul did not have vision for 3 days, and he did not eat or drink during the time. The disciple of Emmanuel came to Saul and taught him the new teaching, so that he slowly began to understand it. But Saul's spirit was confused because of the happening near the rock, so he misunderstood much and talked in a most confused manner. In this same state of befuddlement, he claimed reformation and set about preaching confused things into the people, aka the Son of God, all these other things. Majority of the New Testament was false. You can see some truth in there, yes, but majority of it's confusion. I mean, the guy contradicts himself way too much. You really should look into some of the words in there. Toward India. Emmanuel stayed about another month in Damascus, and then he spread the word that he would leave the country and would travel into the land of India. His mother, Mary, had herself come from Nazareth, and she, along with Emmanuel, Thomas, and Judas, journeyed the way to the land of India. Whenever they would come to the settlement, Emmanuel again preached and taught the people. The power within him was even greater and stronger than before. Let us take a respite, for I wish to next translate the teachings of the creation, and it would be suitable to have it as a separate unit. And that'll be it for chapter 17.